Welcome to the SCL. My name is Finch. I'm joined by Taco, and I'm happy to have you here with me. We're about to move into some console action, starting with PS4 EU, specifically Maverick up against VGSGods.
And it should be a pretty exciting series between these two teams. I know both of them still looking to work their way up the standings, and a lot of things still remaining kind of close.
Yes, they've had some struggles, I would say, so far, both of these teams up until now. I believe VGSGods haven't even been able to win a single game, certainly not a full set. Maverick, on the other hand, have at least been able to grab one. We got the standings for you right here on the screen. Out cold is the team everyone's chasing, with bedtimes calling right there behind them, though, trying to keep up.
And that's why I think that this could be a particularly close set between these two teams, because I do feel like they're relatively evenly matched, and that this could be a great period, I think, for them to really challenge, I think, either roster in determining who is ultimately going to be able to start pulling out closer and closer to that third, second place standing.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be very difficult for VGSGods to be able to make it up to first place at this point, so this feels like a very critical game for MV3. They need to be able to get this win, improve to 2 wins, and then start to try and get closer to catching up to Out Cold and Bedtime's Calling. It's not going to be an easy task, though, for either one of these teams. The last time they played, MV3 did win it 2-0 over VGSGods, so I imagine they're favored in that capacity. That's the only win MV3 have gotten, but I don't think this VGSGods team is going to take it lying down.
I think that VGSGods have had some period of time now to basically go back and analyze a lot of their old VODs. I mean, it's always easier said than done when we talk about these teams coming in and playing off against each other for the second go round, but I think it definitely helps when you've already gotten to experience, even though it was an ultimate loss for VGSGods, they still get an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the direct opposition via, I think, VODs and just analyzing the way that Mavericks have played against other teams.
Yeah, and I think the VOD review is going to help them. What's hurt them, though, is that I don't think they've been able to maintain a consistent roster. They've been swapping around a lot, just in what roles people are playing, and maybe like 1 or 2 people having to swap in and out too for the team. So that can hurt some. So we'll see. Claw Legend is one that I'm glad that we're highlighting. We'll see if he's able to come in and perform like we know that he can for this team. But they've had a hard time, it looks like, consistently getting to work together as a unit, and that's what can sometimes get exposed in these matches.
And I think the big thing that you're wanting to really emphasize here is that because of all those roster changes, it can be very difficult to just build up that basic team synergy, because when you're constantly introducing new players that might have a different style of play, you never know how that might impact the jungler or the mid laner or wherever you might be throwing that player for the role that they need to fulfill. And I think that with all of this in mind, VGSGods should probably just look to continue prioritizing their jungler position, because I think that working around Claw Legend is probably going to be their best bet.
I think there's a good chance that could help them if they are able to prioritize some strong picks. MV3, on the other hand, though, we know that these are some players that can compete with the top teams. They haven't been able to completely close it out yet, but they've been close. You know, they got Jose on this team as well in the mid lane for them. Jox is on this team. They've got some players who we're certainly familiar with, who played some last year in fall as well, and I think some of that experience is being carried with them. This is the matchup that I think if they want to compete with the top, this team needs to be able to close out.
And ideally in a 2-0 fashion. Well, not so much for VGSGods, but definitely for Mavericks. I'm right there with you, though, Finch. If Mavericks want any hopes, I think, of being able to take away sets from teams like Hype Unit, for example, these are the kind of matches where there needs to be there needs to be a very distinct a lot of distinction between third and fourth place teams.
Right. They would need to show here that there is a gap. And I'm not even saying that there is one, but if that's what their aspirations are for MV3, and I imagine they are to be up at the top, then they have to show a gap between themselves and VGSGods here. Otherwise, they'll probably have a very hard time when they climb up. But I'm glad we're following along a little bit with Ohai's Beast as well. I was calling him Ohai's Best. It's Ohai's Beast. He's another player that plays really well for them out of the Hunter role for this team, rotates very well, isn't super likely to lose you the 1v1 matchup in lane either. I think that this is a team of solid players that just need a little bit more time, because it's not as if Out Cold are up at the top just because they're the better team. It feels like what happens is that it's so many questions they ask each other, and eventually one team slips up and the other one doesn't, and that's the team that wins. And so far it's been Out Cold more than anyone else, but I don't think the gap is so big that MV3 could never catch up.
It's definitely not outside of the realm of possibilities in my mind either. I think when watching through a lot of Out Cold's matches, we've seen tendencies for them to even have mistakes of their own. They're
Sure.
just typically
Of
not
course.
punished as hard as what they do against other teams. And so Alcohol being able to capitalize against other teams' mistakes, I think, has definitely been one of the main reasons they've held on to that #1 position in the standing for so long.
It's helped out cold. Will it help MV3 here or VGSGods? Let's move into the picks and bans for game #1 and see what gets prioritized. We saw, at least at the SPL level, back on Thursday and Friday, that things like King Arthur and Freya obviously had to be banned out. Ardio and Taro were prioritized right alongside that. Shibalanke. I'd be surprised if you see anything different from the console players. At least at that very top level, those gods all got to go.
I'm actually on the flip side of that, though, because I feel like this might be one of those sets where these teams look to prioritize, I think, pocket picks and bans,
Sure.
as opposed to what's necessarily seen as strong as currently in the meta, because already I think VGSGods trying to put themselves into a position where they can claim King Arthur for themselves, going for that Hera in the first pick. That forces Mavericks, I think, into a great response here, taking away the Shibalanke, because having that Darkest Nights for a team fighting ultimate might be the edge that VGSGods need.
Shibalanke are strong, is strong, undoubtedly, but it does kind of make you wonder a little bit. Is letting through some of these other picks going to be enough? And remember, Thursday, Friday, SPL were still playing on the old patch, right? Not this live patch that currently we've all been enjoying right now. So maybe some of these picks have dropped down some. There has been some nerfs. Maybe you're not as worried so much about Freya making it through in these games anymore as you were last week or so.
And with King Arthur being banned away from Mavericks, I think that this was a relatively wise banning choices out of VGSGods, because they're in that first pick position. They have the capability, I think, of just looking for target bans and then being able to pick up the Pele for themselves. This is going to introduce a lot of that early game momentum that I think VGSGods will need if they plan on bringing Mavericks down.
I love some Pele, which he's able to make it through. So VGSGods grab this one for themselves. Jingwei, the immediate response from MV3. So clearly some focus on the duo lane, at least from them. They banned away the Shibalanke, and they prioritized first overall, perhaps the safest hunter in the game right now, and the Guan Yu to go along with it. Not necessarily over there in the duo lane, but just a strong pick.
Could possibly for solo, could be for jungle if Mavericks are really feeling that frisky, but I think that the Jingwei response is the main thing I'm keeping an eye on here, because that could possibly shut down some of the thought process that VGSGods might have been looking for with that dual lane pressure. Pele going to have a pretty difficult time, I think, of looking to punish that Jingwei. She has so much mobility, and even when Pele looks for the knock-up on possible ganks, Jingwei is just going to dash away.
That's right. It's not the longest knock-up in the world, so the window is small, but I expect these players to be able to capitalize and retreat, especially once you hear that telltale blink effect as Uller Soul come through. So this spells aggression to me across the board. Soul in mid, if that's where it goes, gets pressure almost for free. Uller gets it almost for free. So does Pele. Right now, VGSGods are saying, we want to win this early game, it sounds like to me.
Yeah, but they also don't have a single frontliner locked in just yet. And I think Mavericks are making the right plays here, looking for the Ares, taking away, I think, maybe an Ardio ban to follow suit, just allowing the Awilish and the Jingwei to really prosper here.
Wow, I'm surprised Merlin made it down this far, since if he was available, and he's all the way down there in the second ban phase, not prioritized just yet at all. Really, not a ton of traditional mages prioritized aside from the Soul, so maybe that's why. As a Wheelish also came through, that can punish this Uller. It already takes him a while to switch into the axe stance and then jump anyway. That's already slow and telegraphed. Now you add in the Wheelish to punish it even further. This Uller might not have as much of a free time as I thought.
If I'm VGSGods, though, and I'm already expecting to try and isolate the dual lane a little bit more often for frequent ganks out of the Pele, I think that that's something Mavericks are going to have to take into consideration as well, because if a Pele is rotating in early game, I would kind of expect the 3v3 to already go into the favoring of VGSGods, at least for the early portion, just because Pele, Uller, that burst damage is tough to compete with, but there is also a slight possibility this Soul could be in the mid lane. I think that both Soul and Uller are a little bit interchangeable here.
Yeah, I think it's slightly more likely we'll see Soul in the middle lane, but you're very correct. They could go in either one of those spots as the Achilles comes in, because apparently they hadn't drafted enough damage and enough aggression just yet, Taco. So they have to make sure they add the Achilles to this as well. But then they kind of switch tack. They go, finally, we'll go with someone who's a little slower to go and keep our team alive with this gap.
I really love this Geb pickup, but I do have some concerns for the overall meshing of VGSGods composition, because normally when you have the Uller, you want to be able to pair him alongside of a more aggressive support. That way you can really prosper off of that lane bullying potential, and then having the capability of also looking for buff invades early on. So I'm not too certain how this is going to pan out for VGSGods, but the draft as a whole isn't that bad for teamfights.
Not bad at all. Mavericks, though, is very scary. Tara rounds it out, who always makes the team that she's on better. So both of these teams right now with very strong picks. Let's go ahead and move into the action, though. VGSGods against MV3. Game number 1. Casters, take it away.
Thank you, Finch and Taco. It's Aggro joined by Anatoly on the call as we open up on a Monday. Is VGSGods looking to keep their wins against MV3 going? MV3 still looking for their first victory in a set, though.
They're trying. It's not easy for them to find it, as we're approaching already week number 5 in the console world of things, as we're seeing a little bit of an aggressive composition, I would say, out of VGSGods. The Achilles in the soul lane, you got a Pele, whereas there's more sustain on the opposite end. I think MV3 thinking more long-term.
Gonna need some anti-heal for sure on the side of VGSGods, and we'll go into how well they apply it a little bit later on, but I want to talk about this role swap up. Claw Legend was in the jungle pretty recently for VGSGods. Now, I believe there's a new member of the team, Drizzle, but that swap from jungle to mid is one that isn't always particularly easy.
It's really not, honestly, and to go into the mid lane, there's got to be a lot of confidence to give Drizzle that jungle position, so there's something that they have faith for with the Pele, and that's something that is going to be showing in the very quick early portions of the game as the Pele is trying to rotate throughout, making those plays happen. Not going for the blink at level 1. Normally you're going to see that out of an aggressive player, so you got to be thinking about ways to stop the aggression. You're getting the beats to prevent Jocks from the Willish knockups.
That's what you have to be worried about, especially with Ohai's Beast, of course, on the Jingwei. Could provide a knockup if necessary. But I feel like when you move from a position like jungle to the mid lane, going for something more aggressive is an interesting call for me, because in order to play Uller in the mid, you have to be playing up and aggressive and in your opponent's face. And if Jose Raito can take advantage of the fact that Claw Legend's a little bit newer to the role, then that could be a good spot for MV3 to take a lead.
It's possible, but Agni's not known to really start bullying an Uller in the early game, but when you have a presence like the Sawillish has, it makes it a little easier. I think Claw Legend's idea and mindset was, I'm just going to outplay this mid player, even though I'm in the mid position still. That doesn't mean I have to slow down my own pacing of the game that I'm used to. Jungler's early game is always a lot of action. Uller in the mid lane is the same identity.
Not a bad call. Speaking of early action, I mean, that's what this VGSGods roster is designed to do. This is early game basically across the board, with the lone exception of the Geb. The Geb is the late game player in this composition. Do you think that VGSGods need to get out to an early lead, or is Geb enough to win them late game team fights?
I don't think it's enough, honestly, so there does need to be that early game lead as Claw Legend's going to jump up and down, but look who's around the corner!
Oh, Jocks right there with the blink hit, but not enough damage on that feather step quite yet. Did he? Oh, nice axe turn around, and now it's Jocks in trouble, and it's Jocks that is the first blood. Claw Legend, his aggression making it work in the mid lane. I don't know, did Jocks feather step on the third auto attack?
I don't know.
There?
Can we look at what Jocks is leveling up? Does he even have 2 points into that feather step?
No,
I'm a little bit curious.
No, it was one of each, because he knocked him up as well. Still surprised that wasn't enough damage to take down Claw Legend.
If he was level 4 with 2 points in the feather step, I think that's a guaranteed kill. So thanking his lucky stars, Claw Legend a little bit outplaying himself, where he jumps up and down, misses the Agni, jumps back onto the Path of Flames. Jocks with a good idea, blinking in, capitalizing on this Uller without a jump, but just not having the necessary burst damage.
Now, as I was saying, Excellent the only one who's the late game player for VGSGods with their God selection, but on the other side, it's almost all mid to late game for MV3, with the exception of that Willish. So I think that the Jocks falling behind early is exactly what MV3 need to avoid. He needs to be the one holding them up through the early game.
That's very true. Drizzle can easily abuse that now as he hits level 5, trying to make the plays up against Jocks that doesn't have blink for another 40 seconds or so. So Claw Legend can rest easy knowing that he's not about to get ganked. And with this late game presence out of MV3, VGS getting that first blood goes a long way, especially when it's on a jungler.
Totem of Coup, only one has been claimed so far, and that was by the Achilles here for Tier Toxic. A little bit of poke happening on the left-hand side as as you would expect, Terra Jingwei doing a little bit better in that lane so far. This Achilles pick for Tier Toxic has really risen in popularity very, very quickly. We went from seeing very little Achilles to quite a bit pretty quickly, it feels like.
It's because of all the team fighting. There's lack of sustain a lot, as it's easy to abuse that with the execute threshold, but hold that thought.
Drizzle trying to gank this duo lane, but a little bit too healthy for No and Ohai's Beast. So they escape pretty easily. Pretty mobile characters, and Terra and Jingwei as well, so not particularly easy for Pele to lock down.
And the idea behind the Achilles is a little twofold, as Claw Legend gonna survive another gank, narrowly avoiding that bomb. But he's
Another
turning
good
it
axe.
around.
Wow.
What a beast.
This dude is making plays right now in the mid lane, and this is how it should always be, it feels like, with Ullr. It's on the razor's edge. He almost dies, and always seems to find these turnaround axes in order to get the kills. Jose Raito bites it with this addition. Tier Toxic has to use Fatal Strike because of the threat of Loki Berto's ultimate, but Drizzle's on the way to the right side. This could be a good gank opportunity.
He has no idea, and he's actually going to walk right into the trap. Excellent around the corner. Needs to dash away before the knockup, but no. Actually holding that on. Not going to find the kill onto this Guan Yu, but stripping away the blue buff is basically gimping the Guan Yu hard enough that now Tier Toxic could look for a kill opportunity.
Guan Yu, one of the most blue-dependent warriors, I would say. Needs that constant stream of MP5 in order to keep spamming his abilities.
The conviction, the heals, because you know Tier Toxic is going to be spamming all his abilities, trying to prevent the Tallow Assault with his own stunning effect. Going to be able to look for the combat dodge, just the poke damage. I'm kind of curious to see what Tier Toxic is maxing out in that Achilles solo lane, because that dictates about how aggressive he wants to be. If he's maxing out that third ability, which he is, he's going to be looking for those executes.
Really just saving the one to interrupt Tallow Assault for the most part, and using his combat dodge as the big damage potential. But VGSGods off to a pretty good start, and it's all been around that mid lane. Claw Legend's been making it work so far on the role swap, and Drizzle's been right there alongside him. This is how this composition is designed to go, but I feel like they're going to need a Gold Fury sooner rather than later, but really good stun and body block. Marky Sparky just gets into this apparated time, but Beast not letting it go for now, dashes forward, but just a little bit short of the damage.
I think that would have been a kill if they used the Terra's ultimate after Disapparate alongside the Jingwei ultimate, and maybe just have Terra tank the tower for a couple shots.
Gravity Surge right on top of Claw Legend. Gem Shield's good. Feather Step locks him in place for a second, but he still gets the jump off in time. Big Supernova comes through from Marky Sparky and dissuades the chase for MV3. Excellent with, well, an excellent shield and shell to keep his mid laner alive.
Well, that's why he's playing the Gep, so that he's going to be having that kind of praise for his timing window. And thus far, a good idea for Kino to save that ultimate earlier on where they didn't kill the soul, to be able to turn that little gank around the corner, as Drizzle still being hyper-aggressive, I would say, in the solo lane. But now, without his Achilles, he could be in a lot of trouble.
Needs to use Volcanic Lightning and does. Saves it to the last minute. Excellent on the receiving end of that stun. And here comes Jox up and over the wall. Great knockup, interrupts that rollout. Excellent, no Cataclysm, of course, and nowhere for him to go. Jose Raito puts MV3 on the board in the mid lane. This Agni starting to get it rolling.
Typical jungler, to put himself out of position, stealing the backcams just to be saved by his support, just to let his support die in response. Excellent with a good game, but Drizzle could have been a little bit cleaner. I think he could have used that Volcanic Lightning a lot earlier. He was taking too many of those Guan Yu hits.
As soon as you get hit by as soon as you hear the first one, I think it's time for you to hop on and use your own horse, basically, and get out of there, because Guan Yu will do plenty of damage, of course, on that Cavalry Assault. Claw Legend takes about a third of his health in poke, but now that he has his Transcendence, he doesn't have to worry about his mana pool anymore. He's got a little bit of CDR and can really afford to play pretty aggressively in the mid.
With a one-level lead, it's not looking too pretty for Jose Rito, but as long as he's passive, waits for that Chronos Pendant, which is what I'm assuming he's going for after Shoes of Focus, he's going to be spamming those bombs from a distance. He doesn't want to get too close to Claw Legend, as Claw Legend has shown his cards. He's obviously aggressive, the way he's been able to kind of sit at the tower line, and also when he gets dove under the tower line, to have the presence of mind to turn it around 180. So as long as he can keep his distance away and relies on his teammates, maybe lean on VGS's aggression, because it's not just Claw Legend. It's Drizzle playing aggressive. Tier Toxic is not afraid to hover around this tower line. MV3 needs to rely on maybe some rotations out of this Terra.
I think that's a really good idea. Kino can certainly swing the fights in MV3's favor. Excellent with an aggressive role, but Jose Rito, of course, has the dash. Marky Sparky now in some trouble. Blink in, knock-up is good. Purification beads used, and the Supernova, and Jox's Feather Step hits a minion instead. Now he's trying to back it up as Drizzle has Volcanic Lightning, misses on the connective, and did a great Feather Step. Puts Jox in a better position to trade. Beast, though, gets the final hit. And now Excellent coming in pretty late to this fight.
Oh, Excellent going to avoid that Persistent Gust knockup. Jose Rito looking for the angle. He needs to dash in to get the distance, but not going to commit quite yet. And when you're fighting against an Willis, you need to understand that Feather Step is a very short cooldown. I think it's 8 seconds without any CDR. Having only Tier 2 Jox is sitting at that very quick cooldown, but already MV3 not wasting any time on this objective.
Gold Fury getting low. Excellent actually used rollout there. That could be a kill potential, but here comes Claw Legend, level 11, coming from the mid lane. He already took the tier 1 tower as MV3 were getting the Gold Fury, but instead focused on the red buff. Excellent maybe falling again for the sins of his carries. Good Cataclysm. Jose Raito getting low. That actually got the beads from Beast, but Beast bounces back and takes down Excellent. Claw Legend still not afraid, and good for good reason. Great rotation in from Drizzle. Able to take down the ADC, but still totally MV3 walked away with the Gold Fury after
At the
that
end
fight.
of the day, it's all worth it. But keep in mind, Claw Legend did strip away that red buff. If he utilizes this with another play around this corner, if he can find a stun, maybe even onto Kino for the kill, that would mitigate some of the losses. But instead, no, just a 1-for-1 at the end of the day. Losing out Excellent, the support player, taking out the Hunter is going to allow Marky Sparky to get some farm under himself, finishing off that Celestial Legion helmet.
Feels a little weird for Soul to not have Bancroft's talent right away, but Celestial Legion helmet just lets her box so much better in lane.
Especially with how often she's getting ganked. She is consistently around that 25% health threshold, surviving that last encounter just narrowly in her own laning phase. She can turn that damage around with the Supernova.
MV3's evened it up now, 3-3 in kills, but still VGSGods with a not insignificant, but also not massive advantage. XP and gold right around 2K, a little bit over for XP, a little bit under for gold. But as we mentioned, this is a pretty early game focused composition for VGSGods. This is where they need to be at this point.
It feels that way, and they've been making those plays happen, but if you're going to be giving up objectives, it will haunt you, because the double sustain of Guan Yu, Terra, you got the Earth and Fury ultimate also out of Kino to swing these team fights. Drizzle, though, doesn't want to get to the late game.
Beautiful axe there by Claw Legend as Drizzle came right in with that Volcanic Lightning. That picks off Kino with some ease. That Lotus Crown not doing enough to keep him safe, as seems like Pyromancer's the call.
And these are the plays we need to be seeing out of Drizzle, recognizing the threat of the late game from MV3. He goes in with the Volcanic Lightning. Loki Berto, though, trying to punish out Drizzle since he is 50% health, but in a 1v4 spot, he's doing a good job buying a lot of time, delaying this Pyromancer.
Claw Legend's jump is down, and Jox has that blink, but he gets found out. There's Cataclysm straight into the knockup. Tier Toxic, though, gets stunned alongside his support by Jose Raito, and that's enough to open up the door for Jox's escape until it's the blink in from the mid lane Uller. Blink Uller making it look good.
I feel like he's been watching a little bit of Chapo there in the mid lane.
Yeah.
Looking for those aggro plays, and I like it. Not only Drizzle from the jungle, but also Claw Legend, known to make the plays. Former jungler out of VGSGods, no stranger to being active.
Really is the EU PS4 Chapo. Used to be a jungler, now playing mid, inexplicably buying blink on Uller in the mid lane. I wonder how much he goes to the gym.
Hey, what if he is Chapo? What if he's like in Europe right now?
Well, can't be playing under a different name totally. Then Cooper would get Cooper would have sniffed that out long ago.
No, it's his long lost twin sister, Chapita.
Oh, of course. Well, Chapita is looking pretty strong so far. 3-0-2. Don't know about the choice of the Jotun's Wrath. I feel like Crusher is just such a better power spike for you.
I agree in terms of burst damage, but I think that he's just looking for opportunities. So you get that 20% CDR, you can look for more of those plays. Looking for more plays is Drizzle.
Jose Raritos dashes down. That forces out that Terra's Blessing Blinken from Jox as well, but his ability a little bit off the mark. Jox at 0-2-3, the lone early game character for MV3 has not been able to stem the bleeding of the consistent early game pressure of VGSGods.
Because of the Volcanic Lightning still available, this is why VGS going for the Pyromancer now in a 3-on-4, getting absolutely decimated. Tier Toxic found one. Looking for another one though is Loki Berto.
Jose Raito never even got out of the cast animation for his bomb, trying to bomb the Pyromancer, and he was dead before the bomb came out. Back towards the Pyromancer, Claw Legend has pretty good secure, and VGSGods do secure that objectives. But Tier Toxic doesn't want to let MV3 off the hook quite yet. He'll chase him down a little bit, but eventually give up the
Claw
chase.
Legend, he jumped into the tower. He actually blinked as well. He's doing 163 damage for a basic attack. Oh, unfortunate.
The jungler there, that was a 1v1, man. Where'd he come from? That's cheating to have your jungler come and help.
I actually think that the Terra stun wall intercepted the Uller bladed arrow.
Oh yeah, it can.
I
Doesn't
think
go
that's what
through walls.
happened. It was very close to being a kill there.
Very good attempt. Now it might be Beast who's in some trouble on this left-hand side. There's a big rotation coming, but he seems wary of it. Some good ward coverage by him around his own purple buff. So Claw Legend is getting shut down, and that was actually a huge bonus for Jox, because Jox was down 2 levels. Now that gap much smaller. Season 6, you get a bigger golden experience boost for killing a player who's ahead.
As long as you're behind, yeah, you're going to get a significant boost compared to Season 5, finishing off Hydra's Lament now. Tier 1 potentially into a Jotun's Wrath. They're starting off the objective again, but not having too much health to play with.
Beast has to use the dash, but he's getting low. Has that Terra's Blessing heal on him, though, so might be able to stay in the thick of the fight. Cloud Legend has respawned and is now ready to fight once he has his red buff, but Loki Berto's on his way as well. This Guan has not really struggled so far in the early game like you may have hoped if you're VGSGods. And once Loki Berto joins his team fights, there's so much healing.
That's right.
It's going to be difficult to take him down.
They only lost like a couple of blue buffs, no any deaths. And speaking of deaths, Tier Toxic might be the first casualty.
Fatal Strike gets blocked by Loki Berto, who still has that Cavalry Assault, but Drizzle's the first one out of the fight. Beast able to notch that one for himself. Loki Berto holds on to the ultimate, doesn't decide to chase it. Just too aggressive there from Tier Toxic, even though he's the one who ends up escaping.
That's true. Drizzle tried to take advantage of the fact that everyone was on Tier Toxic, and now everyone instead onto Loki Berto.
Has to use the ultimate defensively now. Thought about turning around, and he does. Tier Toxic got blinked on. Good shield coming from Excellent. Claw Legend somehow found Kino on the left, but Tier Toxic still on the run. Nearly found a big stun, but got put down just in time. Jose Raito gets one. Jox gets the other, and now it's Uller all alone.
They're trying to look for a 3-on-1, make it a 3-on-2. Good stun onto the Soul, preventing the Stellar Burst, but overstepping the boundaries. Beast dying yet again, and every time I'm seeing Beast die or being close to death, he still has Airstrike. He still has escape possibilities. Yeah.
Got to be using that. Good burst damage certainly from Marky Sparky, but you hit him with the Supernova first, or the Stellar Burst first. That usually means the Supernova's coming pretty quickly afterwards, so should be enough time to find that Aegis. Maybe he was saving it for next game.
That could be it. It's happened from time to time. Zatman Aegis, you know, it happens. You know.
Yeah, gotta have it.
But at the end of the day, though, MV3 still without their second Gold Fury, so VGS still at least delaying that. And you were mentioning how Loki Berto didn't struggle in the early game. He's hit his stride now, level 16 with 30% CDR between the breastplate and the Genji's guard. Plenty of MP5 to play with. He's going to be spamming those convictions. And looking on the opposite end, there's really no anti-healing quite yet. No Divine Ruining from Marky Sparky. I'm looking for a Pestilence. No Curse Donk either.
No, I feel like VGSGods are already behind the 8-ball on the anti-heal. Drizzle needs to go Brawler's Beat Stick next. Instead, he goes for Magi's Cloak. Claw Legend could buy it. It wouldn't be my favorite pickup, but they just need it so badly that it doesn't really matter where it comes from at this point. That's one of my problems with this draft is they don't have good ways to apply anti-heal outside of the Pele, but even he's not buying it.
And now Tier Toxic is going for like an Oncule, not even a Pestilence, as MV3 starting up the objective yet again. Loki Berto zoning, going to delay it and allow themselves a second Fury.
Marky Sparky could not get in. The solo laner just a little bit too strong. Could not pass. Another Fury goes the way of MV3. They're starting to close this gap a little bit. Good knock up, pull in on Tier Toxic, but that's the solo laner. Don't know if that's who you want. Jox already full of regret, but able to dodge that Fatal Strike just barely. Claw Legend still looking for the chase, has a blink of his own. Good feather step. Jox nearly finds it with that Hydra's auto, but Excellent needs some help, and Claw Legend finally puts him down as Drizzle still on the run in the mid lane.
Look at that mobility. He's running around with like a chicken with his head caught off, and he's gonna escape. The bomb misses, but the stun connects. Flame Wave didn't have the distance to cover. Good 3-man stun out of Kino, but no real follow-up. At the end of the day, only losing one.
Jose, he had the back, but decided to cancel it for, there's free XP here, Tolly. Gotta take it.
When you're getting your tier 2 tower push, do you think it's a good idea to do the back camps right next to that tier 2 tower with like 10% health?
Oh, I'm low on health. Well, how much mana do I have? Do I have a lot?
I mean, you're Agni, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but...
Oh, no, I don't think he had a lot of mana. Yeah, I don't think that's very good. No, it's probably not the call. And that opens up the Pyromancer for the VGSGods. Starting to regain that lead a little bit. We talk about early game versus late game compositions and where these teams are supposed to take the leads. And I think 20 minutes is still where a composition like VGSGods can be really, really potent. Claw Legend is really reaching the apex of how strong Ullr feels. Soul is starting to come a little bit more, is starting to get even towards her late game, which is still pretty potent. I feel like VGSGods right now are in their strongest.
Even though MV3's is better late game, absolutely agree with you that VGSGods can still look for these plays with these power curves that they've been hitting, right? Especially with how sporadic, or rather erratic, these fights have been going on. Just everyone isolated away. Jose Rito on the right-hand side was basically trying to be a factor, a little bit off the mark in some of these abilities. Everyone was trying to chase out Tier Toxic on the left-hand side. So when you separate a fight like that, it mitigates the effective healing from Loki Berto, from Kino, where everyone from MV3 should be relatively grouped up to receive that healing. Outside of like Excellence, Cataclysm, and Marky Sparky's abilities, also, I guess Volcanic Lightning. Those are the 3 abilities you got to be worried about AoE-wise from VGS. And once at least Volcanic Lightning is down, I think MV3 should start grouping up and utilize their double sustain.
And as long as they don't continue to pull in the tanks in order to initiate for them, that Gravity Surge really helped Tier Toxic more than it hurt him in that last fight.
Also, Tier Toxic missing out his Fatal Strike. Bought a lot of time for Jox to run around. It was a blink disengage for Claw Legend to blink engage onto him anyway. Luckily, Marky Sparky was around the corner to play cleanup.
Fire Giant started here by VGSGods, but MV3 seem aware. Loki Berto's the first one in, but here comes Kino. Good stun on the Claw Legend, actually gets a Purification Beam, and here comes Jox right in there with that Feather Step. That Fire Giant knockup actually sets Jox up for the Gravity Surge, and he's going to go down, but not before he takes out Claw Legend. On the front side, Drizzle doing what he can, and he somehow finds Jose Raito, who hits him with the Martyrdom kill from the grave. It's a 2-for-2. Both teams missing their mid and jungle.
They do indeed, but I still think this should favor MV3, but they're engaging without their Hunter. A little bit of a disconnect. Now Beast coming back into the fray. Geb going to be able to shield out Marky Sparky, and this is such an interesting battle. This is like turned into a conquest, into a straight-up joust 3v3 mode.
Tanks and ADCs.
Yes.
That's what we have on the map, but there's a lot more healing for MV3, though it does look like Tier Toxic hurt us a little bit. Ends up skipping out on finishing either the Anchile or the Runic Shield and buys the full Pestilence. So at least there is some degree of anti-heal on the side of VGSGods, and maybe Drizzle's going to be finishing off that Brawler's Beat Stick. Here's where that healing comes into play. Tier 1 Tower Siege. MV3 doesn't have to worry about this at all. They can just walk right in and take the Tier 1.
I feel like they could have straight up killed Excellent. As soon as you see the Geb roll out, Loki Berto can use the Cavalry Charge and look for a kill there, but instead more content with grabbing themselves 500 golds, looking for the reset to go onto the Fire Giant objective. And the only reason why I say that they might have found the kill was because of how much CDR Guan Yu has with the build, and also with his kit being able to diminish it with more healing done, reducing every cooldown by 2 seconds.
And of course that Genji's Guard cooldown also reducing his cooldowns every time he gets hit by some magical damage.
That's true too, yeah.
Really can quickly get those cooldowns back. Claw Legend pushing on the left-hand side. That's pretty risky, Totally. No Aegis for him, of course, because he picked up that blink. No purification beads for 50 seconds. This could be a good opportunity for MV3.
It's funny that you mentioned the Genji's Guard passive, because every time I'm thinking about picking up Genji's Guard, it's not because of that passive.
Just good stats already, and then the passive certainly doesn't hurt you. Claw Legend getting hurt on this left-hand side. Beast able to take him down with relative ease. That's where Aegis might have helped.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Should have blinked away there, buddy.
Could have.
Unfortunate, though. When you're trying to farm, I don't think the Tier 1 tower of the enemies where it used to stand is the right place, with Gold Fury still up and around the corner.
VGSGods decide to let this Fury go without a contest, the right call. This is the traditional Gold Fury, which in this position, if you're MV3, I don't hate. You already have a Primal Fury buff underneath your belt, so you feel pretty good about your ability to burn Fire Giant. And now you're just looking to recoup some of the gold that you're down. Traditional Gold Fury does that better than any other, of course, so not too bad. There's another Fire Giant attempt, this time, though, by MV3, but here's the problem. It's about to tick over to that enhanced version right now. All of a sudden, much harder for them. Tier Toxic here, as is Drizzle, around the backside. Knock up a little bit off the mark, but Beast still getting pretty low. Has to use the Aegis. Volcanic Lightning gets put down quickly by Jose Raito, but a great Cataclysm from Excellence sets up Marky Sparky for a bit of damage, but not enough to chew through that Terra's Blessing.
And this is when the healing really shines. MV3 forced to reset, but they want to reset, utilizing all that healing. Almost 9,000 from Loki Berto. 5,000 basically out of Kino, and that was a fight that VGS took 4-on-5 with Claw Legend respawning from base. I don't know the mindset there.
MV3 was on the Fire Giant. They forced him off of it. So at least they get something there, but now MV3 gets to go back to base, heal up a little bit, and have another opportunity. Could go for Pyromancer here as well. Certainly the safer call, but no. They want the bigger reward. 3 members here. Claw Legend, of course, respawned and now on his way from the mid lane.
Fire Giant about 50% health. Excellent, trying to lead the charge. They don't really have the vision until Tier Toxic goes in. Nice onto Loki Berto, but Jock's going to penetrate that back line.
Jock's very low, and Claw Legend has the blink. Doesn't even need it. Axe is good enough. Jock's beads, certainly not. Claw Legend gets that fairly easy kill. Jock's just a little bit disconnected from the rest of his team. They were more worried about the objective. Jock's was looking for the fight. Is now it's VGSGods' turn to try this Fire Giant.
I mean, Tier Toxic went in and he zoned away 4 members by himself. So it made sense as to why there was like a little bit of backline penetration from Jock's end, but he had no healing.
Whoa.
He went on the left side.
Claw Legend just used the jump right in front of everybody, and he's already fairly low. Marky Sparky tanking up. This Fire Giant can't do it. These carries getting too low, but Beast able to get up and over that fatal strike, but not away from Drizzle. The jungler able to find the ADC as he flew away. Loki Berto doesn't want to let him get off the hook for that. Cavalry charge, only going to stun Excellent, but a Cataclysm prevents it. Knockup hits onto 2. Big Supernova. Jose, very low, but still alive.
Wow, Aegis not even needed there. Tier Toxic looking for the cleanup, but he doesn't have Fatal Strike for the execute. Still with 1 kill under their belt. 35 seconds remaining for Beast to respawn. Not too much health to play with, so VGS going to be conservative about this. Start up the Pyromancer, secure that, until finally going for the enhanced Fire Giant.
But now, that might have bought enough time for Jose and Jox to get back. Instead of doing Fire Giant, if that's what they wanted to do, Pyromancer took time. Excellent's tanking, and he's low, as is Drizzle. Excellent dead instantly from damage from the Fire Giant. Claw Legend down to 1 HP. Boy, would MV3 like a Nuwa at this point, but they've got a Guan Yu instead, and he'll get the job done. Onto Drizzle eventually with that Taolu Assault. Tier Toxic now left alone. Fatal strikes through the uprights and gets through MV3, but it's only delaying the inevitable. Tier Toxic will eventually fall. It's just a matter of who gets the last hit. It's Beast with that auto attack. 3 members down on VGSGods.
Now this could be the window to get the Fire Giant, but instead gonna play it really safe. Grab a Tier 1 tower. 5 seconds to respawn for Excellent. Good stun onto Marky Sparky, forcing the Disapparate to disengage. This could be a straight-up Phoenix Siege, recognizing how long it's going to take for Toxic and Drizzle to come up.
Loki Berto has that ultimate again. Early Gem Shield. But Marky Sparky still has those relics. He's going to need them both, most likely in this position. Never uses the Aegis, and Beast able to punish him for it. Terra's Blessing trying to heal up on the Jox and Kino. Mid Phoenix goes below half. Finally it goes down. Claw Legend is here, but can't do a whole lot to help out. MV3 break the base. They get the mid Phoenix, but No Fire Giant for them yet.
Good call to go for that middle Phoenix, and good aggression recognizing the fact that Sol used it to separate around that tier 2 tower once Jose Rito basically stunned out the Sol. So that was a good, easy, clean pickings. With that much CDR, it's so easy for Loki Berto to be aggressive. He used that ultimate to cover the distance onto Drizzle, and then he had it immediately after for the Phoenix Siege. And this is where MV3 is starting to peak in that late game. VGS doesn't have that same opportunity to get those easy kills any longer.
Now, VGS does have a lot of anti-heal now. The Divine Ruin for Marky Sparky, a Brawlers for Drizzle, and the Pestilence for Tier Toxic. But once these healers get these items online, even reducing their healing, they're still putting out a decent amount.
It's difficult to really mitigate them. I would almost have liked to see Cursed Ankh, maybe instead of a Blink out of one of these players, maybe even potentially without a Shell for Excellent wouldn't be a bad idea, considering you already have a Geb shield anyway. VGSGods, they need to play off of their vision a little bit more to see if they can isolate people, because this 5-on-5 fights are only going to get exponentially difficult.
Looks like the grouping's around the Oni Fury, not the Fire Giant, as you might expect at this point in the game. Loki Berto's taking a good amount of damage from Drizzle. Tier Toxic more concerned alongside his support with the objective. Jox finds the knockup, but that's on the tank, so no full commit. Claw Legend still trying to handle Loki Berto, but Talu Assault forces him to jump away. All this time spent around the Oni Fury is good for MV3. Eventually, they'll start getting fire waves down towards the Titan.
That's true. It's all about that middle wave. Isolated and all alone. Excellent with an early spill. 5-on-4 now. MV3 looking to force the issue.
Beast dashing in. He's got to use the beads, but Terra's Blessing is there. That'll get a heal off, and boy, does he need it, because Drizzle is all over him. Claw Legend able to get it, but Drizzle falls to Jose Raito, a 2-for-1. But MV3 losing their Hunter is a pretty big hit on their ability to siege an objective or these towers.
Good grouping from MV3, just really taking advantage of Excellent. That didn't even have time to Cataclysm. It was a great chain CC and defending a tier 2 tower. VGS in a 2v4 spot, but look who's turning the corner. Claw Legend from the red buff.
I don't know if I like this defense though, Tolly. I mean, it's a 4-on-3. I suppose Excellent just spawned. Maybe he can get there, but Loki Berto is up on the horse. Gonna stun out Tier Toxic. Bombs are there as well. He goes down as Claw Legend blinks into the back line. The Uller needs to jump away, but doesn't go into the purple. Easy feather step follow. Jose Raito very low and actually gets himself killed by casting that bomb. Shield onto the wrong target, but sprint still good from Excellent. Somehow, Claw Legend walks out with 2% HP and 0% mana.
Just a lot of havoc and confusion when you got an Uller blinking in the backline like that. Everyone is looking forward. All of a sudden, Jose in the backline is scratching his head like, hey guys, I'm kind of in trouble over here, as he's dashing away. And yeah, he got caught mid-animation of the bomb. And that's the one disadvantage of Agni, is you have that 0.6 second window or so to cast abilities onto him during the bombs.
Claw Legend certainly takes advantage. I was unsure of the tier 2 tower defense, totally, but clearly it works out for MV3. MV3 with their Hunter back, Beast on this Oni Fury. Puts out good damage onto Excellent, though Marky Sparky's got a little bit in return, but here comes Claw Legend around the side. Axe somehow splits the uprights, and so Beast able to escape. An Axe from that position may have been enough to get the kill, but MV3 all the while on the right-hand side able to get that Pyromancer.
They could even maybe force out the Fire Giant if there were enough Fire Maidens down the mid lane, but it's actually VGSGods that's forcing this down because they have Claw Legend with the flank.
That forces out Airstrike defensively, as well as Terra's Blessing. It also kept pressure off of Excellent, who was getting very low. Mid Phoenix has respawned now for VGSGods, so now the game is much closer to even. Gold still very close between these two teams. Oni Fury getting lower, and without Excellent around, bit of hesitation from VGSGods. They got it! Claw Legend with that hail of arrows somehow stole the Oni Fury.
Oh my goodness. 5 offensive items. Mantle of Discord to wrap up the 6th defensive one from him, and that was just enough damage to find the last steal. And boy, did VGSGods need that Oni Fury, because their middle Phoenix is a little vulnerable after the respawn, so not having to worry about those enhanced minions down every lane means that they can position themselves around this Fire Giant without a care in the world.
Now, this is exactly what VGSGods need to do. Pull MV3 away from the lanes to make sure these Oni minions get their best return on the investment that VGSGods put in. Specifically on the left-hand side, that tier 2 tower will be easy pickings for an Oni wave as long as no one from MV3 goes over to clear it. It'll be a little bit easier for them to clear mid and right-hand side, but even if you get the tier 2 and expose the left Phoenix, it puts you in a much better position, but VGSGods seem content to just sit around and wait for Onis to do their thing, but in my mind, you have to be putting pressure on MV3 here.
I think so. I think this is the time to utilize the objective control. There's a reason why those minions have been added to Season 6. They're no slouches. If left uncontested, will melt your towers. And speaking of getting melted, Toxic not going to get melted too much with the shield from Excellent, but I think they could force a fight off that.
Toxic to about half. Cataclysm onto Jox. Fatal Strike used as well. And now Toxic's in a pretty bad spot, but he's got some support alongside the shell from Excellent. Sprint used by Loki Berto to try and disengage as Drizzle now on top of Jose Raito gets his Aegis without a whole lot of threat of damage. All the while, that Oni Waven left will now claim that tier 2 tower, and Jox needs to go over and clear it, or else it'll take a Phoenix.
That's exactly what he's doing on the left-hand side as we're seeing Toxic use the teleport to come on in. The Mad Guys getting popped from Kino. Look where Jose is. He could be exposed because there's going to be a collapse. Drizzle going in.
Volcanic Lightning already used, has those basics ripping through the enemy team, and now he's going to be able to escape stage south. Loki Berto doesn't get anything from that ultimate, doesn't have it available yet. Just now, with that Cavalry Assault, Jox can rejoin the fight. He cleared the Oni wave on the left-hand side, but still some remnants of it as there's a wave pushing. MV3 now down a member, and it's their Agni who's been putting out some pretty solid damage. He's second overall on the team.
Doing a lot for his team there. Doing a lot as Jox flanking, not able to find the Feather Step or the knock-up. Still going in, though. Loki Berto stunning out Claw Legend, receiving Excellence's shield. But now, he's left alone. He's isolated. He's stunned, and he's almost deleted.
Fatal Strike available, but it misses! Loki Berto has the dash right on time, but Toxic finally gets him anyways. Cataclysm keeps both carries alive. Excellent able to save the life of Claw Legend and Marky Sparky from Jox's pressure. And with Claw Legend heading back to base, he was a little bit too low, but still, only the duo lane left standing for MV3.
Claw Legend's damage is really shining for his team. Top of his team, and his lack of hesitation is successful for his team's position to win now. Stealing that objective, forcing Jox to defend, is now opening the door for this Fire Giant. It's all a trickle-down effect.
Claw Legend gets knocked up, though. Fire Giant getting lower. Kino's walls there. Do not let those steal away. The Fire Giant barely able to secure it. Now the fight rages on. Kino has to use that Terrace Blessing. That damage mitigation certainly helping him out. Drizzle chasing Ohai's Beast instead of just getting the easy kill. Finally decides to go for it, but now cooldowns are back up for Kino. He's able to escape, and instead it's Jose Raito who ends up taking the spill. Overall, VGSGods would probably be pretty happy with that trade. Mid laner instead of support. In the late game, yes please.
Oh yeah, unfortunately he couldn't find the kill onto Drizzle, so this is going to open up the tier 2 middle tower now, playing defense in a 4-on-5. MV3 need to hold on to this middle Phoenix.
Claw Legend jumps in without Aegis, and his whole team's like, wait, please stop. We have a Geb shield, but you're making... If I had to play support for Claw Legend, I would just have constant anxiety. Excellent, this poor man.
I feel that.
Hopefully he has some people in his life he can talk to, because good lord, I would be so stressed.
He's making it happen, though. Those kinds of plays and making it happen with a nice bait and switch. Coming aggressive under the middle Phoenix. Almost deleted. Beast gonna run away. Look at all of VGS barreling down the mid lane.
Drizzle finally gets the kill onto Beast, but it was all set up again by Claw Legend. Jox knocked up. Legends jump in, of course, as he continues to go towards the enemy Titan. Somehow, again, still standing, unlike the mid-Phoenix for MV3. That goes down to VGSGods' pressure. Without Beast, they might be able to take this left side Phoenix as well, but without minion waves, and they aren't coming anytime soon, as well as the low mana pools for multiple members, VGSGods decide to take it up home.
It's all mind games from VGSGods. They are telling Claw Legend to jump in. It's like, hey, act crazy. Just go crazy. Go wild.
He listens to the call then. If that's the call, then he's certainly making it happen. If I'm MV3, especially if I'm like Jose Raito, I'm like, man, I'm getting killed every time I dash, and somehow a late-game Uller is getting away with jumping in and playing frontline for his team.
Hey, he's got Mantle of Discord. My man's is not dying anytime soon.
He's got tons of prots. It's probably helped him out. He's putting himself in position to get that Gebald of his own, even though he already has one on the side.
That's why he's jumping in, so he can use his passive proc on that item.
Dude, that's huge. That's
next level.
That's big brain plays. You can't, I mean, Geb always wants Blink, right? For Blink Cataclysm, why not just Blink Mantle Stun?
There you go.
OP.
It's just next level stuff right there. So with the middle Phoenix down now for MV3, action will transition over to the left side. VGS with Fire Giant still around their waist for a little bit longer. And when you got a Uller and a Soul with Fire Giant objective, it is so difficult holding on to those Phoenixes.
Enhanced Fire Giant as well, and Claw Legend has a 3K pot on him at this point. If you thought he was doing a lot of damage before, talking about early game for the Uller, but his late game's been impressive to say the least. 480 on that hail of arrows on a beast. Claw Legend walks in now, hitting that Phoenix for quite a big chunk, but again, just continues to move forward. Kino has a Mantle Stun of his own, and that actually buys him another life bar. It's excellent getting low, finally brought down by Loki Berto, but left side Phoenix already gone. Tier Toxic pretty deep into the enemy Titan room, but he's able to escape just barely. Now it's Drizzle who finds it with the Volcanic Lightning hit right onto Jox with just a sliver of HP left. His whole team very low, almost dead. Claw Legend still pushing tight.
I was about to say, like, that was as close to being a 1v1 as possible until I remembered that Drizzle had some Fire Archers right beside him, and that was the tipping point. Good attempt from Jox trying to mitigate Drizzle's mid-Phoenix shenanigans, but at the end of the day, just not enough. Walking away, losing their middle and left side Phoenix. Still holding on to the game as we're approaching 41-minute mark, but VGS are looking to close it out. It's difficult to really be everywhere at once for MV3 when VGS are clearly willing to commit onto anyone.
Seriously, no bones about who they're hitting. They're just hitting somebody at any given time. As Gold Fury goes down, traditional Gold Fury, usually the least valuable one at this point in the game, but I guess it does get you closer to 3K pots or having your 6 items in place with that Elixir of Speed. Looks like Claw Legend just picked up an Elixir of Speed and has sold his boots, which was for what is going to eventually be a Bloodforge. Seems he just has enough gold right now, but this is the time. Stick around and get your additional farm where you can, because Fire Giant going to be spawning in just a few moments.
Yeah, and with this 14,000 gold lead, I don't think VGSGods are very concerned giving anything back to MV3, because there's no way that they're going to leave their base to defend this Fire Giant. So you might as well get that farm, get that Elixir of Speed, work on your 6 items that you really want. Maybe some 3K potions along the way, as VGS can only be spectators now as they're hoping that their middle Phoenix is going to come up uncontested.
You say they're not going to contest, but here they are. I agree with you that most of the time we see teams give up a Fire Giant from this position, and now someone, wisdom prevails, it seems. Well, I spoke too soon. Loki Berto walking in. Drizzle ends up taking a good chunk from Beast as Fire Giant continues to get lower. Loki Berto dashes in again, but again, VGSGods more worried about the objective. They claim their second enhanced Fire Giant. Mid Phoenix has just respawned. Might be their call, but they don't have a minion wave for quite a bit. Jock's handling that.
Oh, Drizzle gonna force out the airstrike. He actually blinked in. Good stun onto Loki Berto. He's in that threshold, but not having the range. They have to disengage now, but the rest of VGS gonna shift over to the right side Phoenix.
Good poke by Marky Sparky. Jose Raito down to half. Kino hits everybody with that Terran's Blessing, but excellently able to lock down Jox with another Cataclysm yet again. Right side Phoenix now down, so no more extra man for MV3. As their base once again exposed. No one from either side falls, but lots of ultimates expended on both sides.
Without VGS having sustain inside their Gods kits, they're utilizing that Fire Giant sustain quite well by being this aggressive and disengaging at the appropriate timing. Only the middle Phoenix now standing. MV3, they need to take a page out of VGS's book and just go all in on one person. And with Drizzle being already at 50% health on the left side, that should be the primary target.
Claw Legend and Marky Sparky still have their relics. Look how far forward Claw Legend is. He continues to be the front-facing member of VGSGods. Even with the tanks, Excellent has been playing behind not only Claw Legend, but Marky Sparky most of the fights as well.
Now he's just showing off.
Okay.
It's like, hey, I got a Geb Shell coming, right? And Excellent's like, yeah.
Guess, like, goodness. Blink in by Tier Toxic looking for Beast. Marky Sparky getting pretty low from Siege on by Loki Berto. Mid Phoenix, still about half HP. Left side Phoenix is respawn as well. Jose Raito might not get a chance to respawn. Claw Legend jumping in underneath that mid Phoenix, finds the double kill onto Beast. Cataclysm right there. Loki Berto down to about half HP. Again, Claw Legend with the jump in. Loki Berto getting very low, just out of range of that execute. But the Titan will get executed by VGSGods. 44 minutes. VGSGods take it 25-20.
It was a lot of Claw Legend, Uller highlight plays this game, Aggro. And
Yes.
I'm still looking back at that Oni Fury steal with a hail of arrows. That was the turnaround play. They get that objective. They force out Jocks to defend like 2 to 3 minutes later on their left side. Phoenix allows them to go for that Fire Giant.
Absolutely. That's a huge play without a doubt. And if I'm on the side of MV3, I mean, this is a team that we've said it before. They don't have a win yet in the set. They look really close a lot of the time. They just can't quite close it out. Games like this must continue to be heartbreaking.
It is, and there needs to be some learning after the fact of like, okay, we have a great late game. There wasn't too much anti-healing early on. The mid-game control just narrowly slipped out of their fingers.
MV3 looking to bounce back in Game 2, but first let's throw it to Finch and Taco on the desk to break down Game 1.
I'd be happy to, Aggro. Thanks for tossing it over here. We'll catch it. It is indeed Finch, and I got Tiger here with me. As VGS grab a win. I think their first individual win of the season, or at least they haven't had very many up until now. So a chance to get their first set win, too, if they can close this out in game number 2.
And it looked pretty good the whole way through. I mean, some shaky moments, I think, at the start throughout the duration of that mid-game, but Aggro hit the nail right on the head. I think that turnaround play at the Oni Fury is what really brought VGSGods back to life in this set, and had it not been for that steal out of Claw Legend, it's hard to say what might have taken place instead.
Yeah, I think you could have just said, had it not been for Claw Legend, and you could have stopped talking and been correct in that game. You highlighted him before the match, just unfortunately had the role swaps. He was actually ended up playing the Uller instead of in the jungle. But either way, this team plays through this guy. He was making the highlight plays. He seals the game with that double kill at the end as well to get them in. I mean, this Uller in mid, it just so often gets pressure, and that's exactly what Claw Legend was able to do. Get farmed, get ahead, and just do a bunch of damage.
And I'm almost starting to wonder if this is just Claw Legend trying to take matters into his own hands for the sake of the team, because we talked about it as well at the start of this Des segment that Claw Legend and the rest of VGSGods, they're a team that has traditionally endured a lot of different roster changes throughout these past few weeks of competition, and Claw Legend, for him to make this transition last-minute swap, honestly, from the jungle over into the mid lane, it's not necessarily the easiest feat to accomplish, especially when you factor in that Mavericks also had a solid counterpick idea, I think, in Jocks. It just wasn't necessarily executed to the way that it needed to be.
And that's why I want to give credit to Drizzle, Taco, specifically because of that, because Jocks could have caused a lot of problems for this Uller, but I think Drizzle, the newer player on this team, who is in that jungle role now, had a great game. As yes, 51,000 is correct, by the way, on that Uller. That's absurd.
It's disgusting. It's not even just Claw Legend, though. Tier Toxic, Drizzle, Marky Sparky even coming in with that almost 36,000 player damage, and that to me felt like the ultimate problem, is that even though Mavericks technically had the sustain options between the Terra and the Guan Yu, they never really got to factor those in because the burst damage was just so unreal from the rest of VGSGods that those team fights were typically lasting a little bit longer than I think they should have, and that was mostly due to, I think, just mild sloppiness between both teams. But in the end, I think that VGSGods just had better target priority.
And that's what we highlighted before the game, right, was that they drafted this composition that had so much damage on it. Anyone at any time could kill you. And that's kind of what we saw towards the end of the game, right, is that they just overwhelmed them with all that damage. Things were close, though, in that mid-game, even slightly favoring MV3, I would say. So I don't think this set's over by any means. It is closer than I thought it was going to be based just solely on this win. So MV3 got to buckle down and make sure they're able to translate their early game into that mid and late game.
Yeah, just a little bit of, quick breath of relief, like, hey guys, we finally got one, but hoping to bring home another one, I'm sure, is going to be VGSGods. Mavericks still have a long way to go, I think, but the idea of a comeback isn't necessarily out the window.